Welcome officially to the start of Real Estate 6045. And the name of the course is long. I think it's Real Estate Market Institution something. I'm calling it Real Estate Principles because this is really what it's about. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I know most of you we got introduced, but there's some people who have not met me, and then some people online that are watching for the first time. So I'll give you a little bit of introduction about myself. We're going to go over the syllabus, and then we'll start with I'll just tell what the course is about, and we'll have basically an intro today, easing into the semester. So, like I said before, my name is Eli Bracha. I go by Dr. B. It's stuck, it's easy, and I encourage you to use that. I'm originally from Tel Aviv, Israel. Grew up there. I went to school all the way from elementary and middle school and high school. Then I served in the intelligence for a few years in Israel, and then came to the United States on a track and field scholarship.
Do you have to at age 18 enlist?
You have to, well...
Are you required male or female?
In Israel, because we are such a small country, and we have neighbors that do not love us.
I guess, yeah.
So we have to have very good security there. Basically, every male at age of 18 and every female at age of 18 have to enlist, male for 3 years and female for 2 years. Now,
at age 15, you said?
Age 18.
Oh, the basic, okay. Right.
18, yes, 15.
I was like...
Age 18. Male for 3 years, female for 2 years. And what you do there is different. So you take different tests, and based on your capabilities, physical abilities, etc., you choosing with their permission what they choose for you, whether you're going to be a fighter, whether you're going to be in the intelligence, whether you're going to be in the Air Force, Navy, whatever. Yes, so I served in intelligence for a few years, and it was a wonderful experience. You know, when you're there, you kind of like, you wish it would be done, but looking back, you learn a lot. You get very mature in many ways that you would not get anywhere else, I think. It was a great experience. And when I finished that, I came to the United States. I was running track and field. University of Kansas offered me a scholarship. I couldn't say no. They're the very first one that sent me a letter saying, "We will take you." And I said, "Okay, I'm coming." And I knew nothing about Lawrence, Kansas. And it was wonderful. I stayed in, after that came other letters from the University of Colorado and Arizona State that also wanted to offer me scholarship, but I don't regret it a bit. I mean, being in Kansas was a great way for me to get into the United States. I got there my undergraduate degree in computer engineering. I got there a master's in economics with mathematics and a PhD in finance, focusing on real estate. And as I was getting my education there, the way using real estate is that I had a little bit of money saved coming to college because I was thinking to pay for college myself. So I saved some money, except I didn't have to pay for college myself because they offered me a scholarship. So I took some of this money and I bought a condo with help of family. Condo in Lawrence, Kansas is not very expensive. I got a first condo for $62,000. Bought a condo, 3 bedrooms, next to campus, live in one room myself, rented the other 2 to my friends. Knew nothing about real estate. Then, so it's going well, so I bought another one, and then with friends, they wanted to buy another one, and then I expanded. And I was a small-scale landlord that, learned things in the very simple way that a lot of people here, that kind of like buy investment property, and let's see how it goes. I didn't know much about it, but that got really me curious into investing in real estate. And later, of course, I developed my knowledge more through when I was writing my dissertation in finance, sharpening into the area of real estate, and I learned, of course, a lot more. I learned about all the stupid things I did in the past. I learned about the things I did well, but I didn't know why I was doing them well. And then, of course, I evolved into doing, larger, more complex things. So consulting for larger development projects, consultants for larger investment firms, consultants for brokerages, consultants for companies that indirect sell real estate, so they hold real estate and they mark to market. So I'm involved in the market in a way that, first of all, I enjoy that. Second, it's lucrative, so I do that. And third, which is probably the most important to you, is that I can tell you things not just from the textbook. I can tell you how things work in theory, but I can also relate it to reality because I am there. I think this is very important, and hopefully you appreciate it. So that's basically my background, how I got into real estate. From Kansas, after finishing PhD, I spent a few years in North Carolina, a few years in Wyoming, and then came here. I don't think you can have more extreme move moving from Laramie, Wyoming. Anybody ever been to Laramie, Wyoming, or somewhere near Laramie, Wyoming? It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. I had a wonderful time. I had a house there that, from my office in my house, I see mountain peaks, white, 12 months a year. In August, they're white. In January, they're really white. No, just the peaks, the whole mountain. It's a beautiful area, very slow pace. You know, again, you sit in the office and you see a fox run by, and an antelope, and things like that. It's very wild, very slow pace. I enjoyed it, but when Florida International University come knocking, I decided to take it. It's a lot more opportunities here. It's a much more supporting system for teaching real estate, being involved in real estate, consulting opportunities, and dealing with people that really doing real estate at a higher level. At other universities, I was teaching real estate for people that do finance, but also want to learn something about real estate. It was very different. So I'm very happy to be here and be involved in this program. That is basically about myself. I want to start by going over the syllabus with you. Not because you can't read, because there's some things I just want to make sure that we have understanding. You're going to take 2 more courses from me throughout this program. Usually, I'm teaching 2 courses in this program. Because we have 1 professor in sabbatical, I'm actually teaching 3, so 1 of his courses as well. My syllabus are usually, the rules are pretty similar for all the courses. I don't need to reinvent the wheel every time, so spend a little bit more time the first time. And especially because this is the first course, it's first with the other course with Dr. Lin. The first course you take in this program, I think it's just better for everybody to have a chance to ask questions and kind of set the rules, making sure that everybody's clear on everything. So we'll spend some time on that before we move forward. We're going to take a break around 7? Yes, Sabrina, I'm looking at you. I know you're looking somewhere else, but Sabrina is the one that is telling us when we're going to break, around 7 p.m.
I'm going to start charging you.
I'm sorry?
I'm going to start charging you.
You're going to start charging me, okay? We'll have a bill there. Maybe you can find a replacement at some point. Until then, you're in charge. Around 7 o'clock, we'll go for break, and we'll go until, I don't know, how was the break last time, by the way?
Half an hour.
About half an hour. Yeah, I'm not too strict about it. I want to make sure that you guys have enough time to relax, catch up on your texting, calling. I know how it is. You guys working, call, come, all those things. I would ask you guys to please do not use your phone in the classroom. It is distracting. I know I'm guilty of that myself sometimes when I sit in somewhere and I kind of look down, but please try to do it. If you do it, as little as possible. Because when I see you down looking at your laps and sharing with it just distracting. So I have no problem. If you need to take a call, go outside. That's fine, but here, please try to eliminate as much as possible. Yes?
I follow the class on the Blackboard on my phone.
Okay?
Okay?
That's fine. Again, I'm talking about other things that are, yeah, of course not talking that's outside, but even texting and things, it's just a little distracting. But if you're using as your device for going on Blackboard or take notes, whatever, sure. I'm not gonna treat you because you are not. I'm not gonna treat you as kids. It's different when I'm teaching a freshman class, which I don't do anymore. I'm kind of happy with that. Teach freshman class, people are 18 versus teaching people that are here to learn, different age, different maturity level. I treat it very differently, and so I'm not going to tell you, no, you can't do that. I also understand that sometimes there are things that are really important you take care of. Take care of them, that's fine. I'm just saying as a general rule, try to eliminate that as much as possible. So let's go over the syllabus together. So, Blackboard, for those of you that are not familiar, you'd go to online.fiu.edu, and from here classes. Now, your course would look different than mine. I teach 3 doctorate seminars this semester. Your course in 2 different versions, online and face-to-face, and another course that I'm teaching more online face-to-face. So yours will be very different, but you're going to have a line that will either like this or like that. And they should both be identical in terms of what goes inside. So we'll just go into one of them. Again, what you see on my view is different from what you see on your view, just because the way it is set up. I can have this student view, I can click on that, but we're not going to do it because it's quicker if I just go to here. Okay. This is our class, Real Estate Market Institutions and Practices, or Real Estate Principles. We're meeting here every Wednesday, 5:30 till 10, with a break in the middle. It's always going to be in this room. By the way, all the courses that you will take in this program will be in this room. This is I believe it's the only room that we can broadcast from. So people, first of all, we are being videotaped right now, so everything you say can be held for you or against you. So just to let you know that you're being recorded right now. I'm being recorded mostly. I'm the one speaking most, but you are too. So basically, all the class will be here in 328 unless for some reason we'll change it, but I don't see that happening. And we're called Fall A. Remember, we have Fall A, which is the first 8 weeks. Fall B will be the next 8 weeks. You have no break in between. Then you have Spring A, Spring B, and then you have Summer. I believe only one summer. So each one you take 2 classes, Fall A, 2 classes, Fall B, that's 4. Same thing in the spring, that's 8, and 2 classes in the summer, that's 10. Ready to say 6045? You're in place? All right. Okay, so this is my information, my name, my phone number. Try and call this phone number. I'm not there. Okay? I'm rarely in my office here. I usually work from my office at home. And usually, if you are calling in my office hours, I'll tell you what they are. Yes, I probably will be there able to answer the phone, but most of the time I'm not there. There are better ways to get a hold of me. But this is my official office number. I am on the 11th floor. It is the highest floor in this building. If you go to the elevator, it actually says PH, penthouse. I like to say that we have the penthouse of the building. Sounds fancier than it really is. I have the corner office, but it's not that glamorous. I used to have, if you came to my office about a year ago, I had unobstructed water view. It was beautiful. And then this 87-story building started coming up behind us, and now I have a full brick view in front of me. So, and we knew that. It's not like we wouldn't expect it. You see that kind of lot behind you that was purchased and zoned in this area. It's only a matter of time until it's going to go. So we knew that's not it came really up quickly. So anyway, 11th floor here. That's where I'm at during my office hours, and that's where I sometimes meet if we need to make meetings. Office hours. So the way I'm going to do that, and it worked well in the past, basically, I'm going to be available for you to stop by my office, for those of you that are face-to-face, and then online we'll talk about in a second. Basically, 4 o'clock till 5:30. So basically, I'm going to be in my office at least as early as 4 o'clock. Usually I'm here much earlier than that, but I'm working on other things. So if you try to come before, try to make an appointment. But if you come during those times, you can just show up. Okay, you don't need to send an email, just show up. Basically, I'll be in my office until people stop showing up, and then at some point, if you stop showing up at 4:45, I'll come here to the classroom, and basically we'll have here office hours. Office hours meaning you can ask questions about whatever you need, whether you're here face-to-face or online. If you're online and you want to ask questions, you can always via emails, or while I'm here in class, you can use the ask a question feature or via email, and I'll answer you that. But basically, those are the times that I'm available. You do not need to make an appointment. If you want to reach me during a different time, That's also fine, except you need to tell me. So if we need to meet face to face, or if we want to have a phone conversation, or whatever it is, you'll email me and we'll find a time that works for us. But with those times, you don't need to make an appointment, you can just show up. It's my email address. It's the best way to get a hold of me. Usually responding within 24 hours. Please do not expect me to respond within 2 hours. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes, mostly, I purposely do not answer immediately for 2 reasons. First, I've been teaching for a while. I don't know if you can tell or not. I've been teaching for a while. Been teaching in different capacities all the way since I was in the intelligence in Israel. So I've been teaching for over 20 years, more than half my life. Okay? And I learned something those last 20 years about teaching. When people, even at the beginning, didn't have emails. Basically, when people ask questions at the beginning, a vast majority, a big percent of the time, they email you back an hour later and say, never mind, I got it. Okay? That's the best way. If you figure out yourself, that to teach how to teach yourself, that is the best. So I love those emails basically come back, I forget about it, I figure it out. Okay? And the other one is basically, it is a lot more efficient for me if I collect those emails and then answer a time. If I just will answer emails as they come, it will be what I do all day. When I teach, if I just answer emails as they come, between PhD seminars and those classes, I will just find myself answering email all day. Whereas if I'm just collecting them and then answering them together, first of all, all of them having the same answer, so I can kind of cut and paste or address a few people at the same time, it's just a lot more efficient. So I'm trying to kind of collect them and then answer them at a time. Even though you will see, you will be limiting the emails to me because most of the questions will go through the discussion board, and then I will address them only when your classmates didn't. But if you are contacting me, please expect something within 24 hours, usually 36. If I don't respond to you within 36 hours, you can send me an email back and say, hey, what's going on? Because it probably went down through my email and I forgot about it. It doesn't happen very much. It doesn't happen very often, but it can be. If I don't get it back in 36 hours, you can give me a little nudge. Course description. Okay, sorry. So we have, I think we do that. And please jump in at any time and ask questions, because something that may be clear to me may be not clear to you the way they're written here. We're not reading it together. I'm just going over what it is. So basically, this course is a general survey of legal, economic institutions, etc. I told you this is a real estate principles. Basically, my goal in this course is to provide you with some basic understanding of different topics in real estate. Because, as you know already, you know each other, quite a few of you, you're coming from different backgrounds and you have different level of experience in different areas. And in order for you to continue through the program and learn about the same topics at the same level, you need to have some course that will level the ground in some way, so all of you know a little bit about everything, and then you can build forward. So in this course, I'm giving you a taste of different topics. So tell you about real estate development, just a little bit, then you're going to have a course about real estate development. I'll tell you about real estate finance, just a little bit, then you're going to have a course about real estate finance. I'll tell you about real estate investments, just a little bit, actually more than a little bit, because it's my area, real estate investments. So a little bit more, and then you have a course about real estate investment. I'll tell you about market trends, economic, etc. Just a little bit of everything, and then you have a lot more later on. So we'll kind of give you something to build on, and this is really, it's kind of a background or a general taste course. That is the best way to describe it. Now, in terms of my style of teaching, I'm a very applied person. Things that I teach here in the business school, I don't think there's a different way around it besides teaching things that are applied. There are plenty other departments that it's their job and it's okay to teach pure theoretical topics. This is not what we do here. I know that people that come here usually they want to learn things that they can use the next day in the real world, and that is my job to teach you things that you can really apply. Every example I'm going to give you in terms of here's the theory, I would then follow with some real life application. If you don't see the connection between the theory or the equation or the example and a real life theory, you need to raise your hand and say, Why do we need that? Because I either didn't make it clear, or, well, if there's no really real application that, maybe we should not learn about it. Because we're not here to learn about some abstract topics just because I happen to know about them. We're here to learn about things you can really practice in real life. So, anybody here with an economics degree?
Oh, my bachelor's.
Your bachelor degree. So, Jessica, by the way, do you have your little tents that you made for me? For you, but you can take your little tents with your name, put in front of you for the next 8 weeks until you learn your names. I would appreciate that. Jessica, you got your degree in economics.
That was a long time
It
ago.
was a long time ago,
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna put you on the spot. But here's the thing with getting a bachelor degree in economics. In my opinion, and no offense, Jessica, and even when I'm offended, it's only going to be Jessica because she's the only one holding a degree in economics. When you get a bachelor degree in economics, in my opinion, is one of the more useless degrees out there. Because, listen to me, right? Because in most programs, and believe me, I took enough economic classes. I have basically ABD in economics, so I took all the way through the PhD except I didn't write my dissertation. I know, took enough of those classes. You learn about, in undergraduate degree, you learn about simple theories with no application. But the professor come and you draw those supply and demand, and then they shift them, and then they move them one direction, and I didn't even draw that, but, and then look, this is the marginal propensity to consume, and here's the marginal cost, and there's another line, and it's like, so how do I make money with that? Well, no, this is just how the world works, but we do not make money with that. We just explain, basically, a lot of fancy, simple theories with no application. Except, if you want to get an even more useless degree than a bachelor degree in economics, there is one more like that. Now, a master degree in economics. You know how I know? I have one. I have a master degree in economics. Here's the difference between a master degree in economics and a bachelor degree in economics. In a bachelor degree in economics, you learn about simple theories with no application. In a master degree, you learn about complex theories with no applications. So they just make everything more difficult, except they take it from the graphs and put it a lot of math. A lot of equations, a lot of math, and really from my experience, I'm not saying it's everywhere, from my experience, a lot of those courses, the concepts, the basics are really very important, except that a lot of the professors fail to connect them with reality. So don't get me wrong, we're going to be here from 5:30 to 10, so I'm not going to put a little bit of, hopefully some humor, we're all going to fall asleep, so I'm trying. I don't know how much you're sitting, but I'm trying. But the idea here is, don't get me wrong, that I think that economics is not important. Economics is an extremely important topic if it is connected with applications. Except that a lot of schools, when they teach you at the bachelor or master level, they fail to do that. So here in this class, what I'm going to try to do is present some very basic economic theories or models, and on them we base our applications. When I'm saying I'm going to introduce those theories, doesn't mean that I'm going to write or draw graphs or equations on the board. We're just going to talk about things that make sense from an economic perspective. So understanding how the economy works and why it works the way it does is very important if you then apply it to real work. You think about how people like Warren Buffett are making investment decisions. They don't draw things like this. They don't write fancy equation on their office board before they make decisions. They're thinking about things that are happening in the economy. They understand how the economy works for the most part. Of course, nobody is perfect. Nobody can foresee the future, of course. But they understand how the economy works. They understand what is important, what's not. And based on this economic knowledge, then they are connecting it to application. They're trying to make good investment decisions. So I will try my best to move from basic economics into real finance, real estate applications. That is my job, and hopefully I'll be successful with that. Also, I'll say about before moving to, I guess, learning objectives, because we have all those learning objectives. The things that I supposedly will teach you here. Now, I know, for example, I'm not going to teach you about the laws of a contract because I'm not a lawyer, and you have a whole course about that. I'll leave it for other people to know. But better accept that in the original syllabus that come from the university, those topics need to be covered. Some of them I'll touch more than others. Some of them you're just going to read about them in the book. That's why they are included here, because you're going to read about them. And some of them I'll present here in class. But to summarize all that, again, so application is extremely important. And we're in a time in the field of real estate that if you think about it, people even, and I'm not going 50 years back, I'm going 20 years back, even 15 years back, people that dealt with real estate, they made their investment decisions based on a hunch. Basically, in most cases. What do you think? This is a good location, look, good building, they want $2 million, I'm going to give them 1.8, good deal. Let's see how it goes. I just feel good about this deal. That's how deals were done, not that long ago. And the more we move forward, and that is quite surprising because if you think about how people, for example, invest in other markets, like the stock market, the bond markets, the decision there were a lot more sophisticated for about 50, 60 years back, all the way from the 1950s or 60s, people rely on more information to make those investment decisions. Except in the real estate world, they kind of didn't. So these things are changing. You know, as we're moving from, and part of that, the reason that was happening is because if you want to learn about the stock market, the bond market, information is out there. Of course, it's more available today than it was 20 or 30 years ago, but even 30 years ago, you can open the Wall Street Journal and you can see what is the price of each stock, what it did historically, what is the price to earning ratio, what is dividend yield. You can learn about different things about the companies, and you can study these companies. Information about real estate was there's almost nothing, especially if you're talking a few decades back. If you want to know how much property is sold for, you have to go down to the courthouse, and even then, some of them are available, sometimes not. Depends on the county and the state rules and things like that. If they are, it's not in a way that you can compare them. Even if you are, okay, so you find that this property sold for $3 million, so what? What is this property really worth? You know, what is the cash flow associated with this property? All those things you don't know. So information and research was very, very difficult to be done, so people just didn't do it. They did it on a hunch. And as we're moving into the area, or the times that we have a lot more information, people start dealing with real estate in a much more sophisticated way. And the reason this is important is because you could be successful in this business just by having a good smile and be friendly and good with people, right? And we know, salespeople, if you're good with people and you kind of make them feel comfortable, you don't need to know about the product very much, and you can sell a condo in Miami Beach just like you sell makeup. It's basically the same thing. Look, it's pretty, I think it's a good deal, it's a good value, and they fell in love with it, and the price, the unit next door sold for 1.8, so 1.75 is a good price, so you should get it. You don't need to know anything really about this property in order to sell the property. We're moving away from that. We're moving away from that, especially in the field of commercial real estate. Your buyers become more sophisticated, and if your buyers are more sophisticated, you as somebody who serves them, if you choose to be on the side of service them, or if you are the investor, they have to be more sophisticated because they're using information. They want to know exactly why this property is or isn't a good deal based on information you have in the area, based on information you have on the cash flows of the property, based on what similar properties are doing, based on what is the inventory that coming in the market is expected to be, based on many, many factors, information that you couldn't get a hand on 20 years ago, that you can. So if you're not using information and other people do, it's only a matter of time until you lose. You can't win just by being lucky many years in a row. You can win one time of being lucky. Okay, you bet on something, happen to be great, wonderful. But if you really want to have a streak of, again, sound investment decisions, they may not all be great, right? You can have all the information and still make a bad investment decision because we're not perfect and we can't tell the future, but you have a much better chance of making good investment decisions if you use correct information, you know how to use that information compared to people that don't. So we know people being licensed in our industry, it's very easy to be licensed. To be a sales agent, take what? 60 hours?
63.
Okay, so you can do it in a week.
Oh,
Okay? How do you distinguish yourself from somebody who sells apartments? Which there's nothing wrong with that. And some of them are extremely lucrative, and you can if you do your job well, you can do very well. It can be challenging, it can be fun, you can meet a lot of interesting people, except it's a very different between, again, all the rest of people that all they know is how to sell a condo because of a view or because of a location versus somebody who can really be a real estate advisor or a sophisticated real estate investment. Those are different. If you want me to teach you how to sell a condo in Miami Beach, you came to the wrong place. I'm a terrible salesperson. I don't know how to sell. But I think if you have more information, more knowledge, you just become a better salesperson. I mean, I tell some of the people that I do consulting for that I'm a terrible salesperson. Like, what are you talking about? You just sold us on this and this and this and that. I was like, well, I just gave you information about it. Well, that's what we want. Okay? Depends on your clients. Really, all they want, not for you to sell and push something, just to present them the correct information, and then they can make the right decision. So I think that's why this program at this point in time is so important, to just add one more thing to that, to show you how new the field of real estate is. In the United States of America, okay, in the whole U.S., we have every year about 120 people in the whole U.S., about 2.5 people per state that getting their PhD in finance. Okay? PhD in finance, you have about 120 people per year. When I graduated, there are slightly more. I think there's about 130, 135. In 2007, I graduated. About 135 people graduated with PhD in finance. Out of those people who graduated with PhD in finance, do you know how many had a concentration in real estate?
1.
Well, I was one of them, so at least one. There are basically 3 people that I know of out of those 135 that actually had a concentration of real estate, which means that basically schools are not even geared into teaching those topics in a sophisticated way. And you just have, think about it, the biggest asset market out there in size, period, the biggest, and basically a workforce that is not trained appropriately because schools are not training professors to train students, etc. You just understudy. So by being in a program like this and learning about what you need to learn, you really have a leg up on competition. So again, I think we're here in a good time, at a good place. All right. Anything from me until now, or up till this point?
Professor,
Yes.
just recently, I mean, not that many years ago, like us realtors, I mean, I wasn't in the business at the time, but there wasn't even what we use the MLS.
I know.
No MLS.
I know. There are people now that watching us. There's a group of students from Guatemala that's watching us right now. We have a sister university partnership for UFM, University in Guatemala, and I'm going there every so often to connect with them. And last time I was there with a different group, and I was showing them about the MLS and how to use it for different things, and they don't have anything like that. Now, it doesn't mean that what we teach here, for example, is not like them. All it means that they may be 10 years behind. It's coming. Whether it's 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, depends how much they're behind. These things are coming. So some information, like the MLS, is things that today it's like, oh, okay, I can pull those last 500 transactions in this zip code.
It's more accessible now.
Exactly.
The information. Like
And if you do not, but here's the problem. A lot of people have all this information. If you don't know what to do with that, so what if you have the information? So yeah, I can pull all those listings, and then what? Okay, so the idea is that, yes, you have this accessibility to the data, and if you learn how to use it, you're a lot more powerful. So yes, the MLS is a good example. Okay, so I think outcomes. Okay, in terms of outcomes, again, I'm not going to read to you, but I'm going to tell you what I'm expecting from you. So first of all, in this course, I expect you to understand the topics we're talking about. I will never expect you to memorize things. Okay, to memorize things, that's why we have these. They can store and memorize information a lot better than any of us. Okay? Nobody's going to go and pay you good top dollars to hire you for you to memorize things for them. They don't need you that. They need you in order to understand how things work, and based on that, give them or their clients a good advice. So really here is about understanding the concept. It's not about memorizing the concept. I'm also not just asking you to replicate what I do in the classroom. So for example, in the classroom, I would do one example. And guess what? In your project or in the exam, you'll be asked to do something a little bit different. Now, in the first exam or the first project, it's going to be just a tiny bit different. So you add like one or two more things. And later on, it's going to be quite a lot different because you're going to get used to that. The idea here is that I'm not going to just do this example and then tell you to do the same thing. Guess what? Because in real life, that's not how it works. You accumulate some knowledge. Here's a tool. Here's how the concept works. And here I have a similar situation. People like to have this, can you send me, and I still get those things. I'm in touch with a lot of my students. They email me. I open my door to help, etc. A lot of them say sometimes, that probably forgot the first lecture, what I told them, can you send me a spreadsheet on X? And a lot of people just want to plug in numbers and get an answer, except that, guess what? Their case is just a little bit different. There's something there that if you plug it into this spreadsheet, it may not turn out just right, because they also need to consider that factor, or they maybe also consider, or not consider something that we have considered in this, or maybe they have some constant that in other spreadsheets is a variable. You just need to learn a little bit how to modify things, because that's how things are done in real life. You're never going to have two deals that are exactly the same. Each deal is a little different, and therefore you need to be able to modify things. Yes, Daniel?
In regards to that, is it in any particular class where we're going to start using CoStar and Argus, or because I noticed that on one of the tabs of the orientation, it one of the tabs there with content dealt with CoStar, but I'm not sure if we're supposed to do that outside of the class or we do that in a particular class.
In my class?
No, I'm not. That's what I'm asking. I don't know if we do it in a particular class or we do that
in
outside.
In your market analysis class, you will be exposed to CoStar and Argus. We actually are trying to bring people from Argus to come and teach you.
Oh, cool.
I can teach you Argus, but it's not what I do all day. I think I know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. Argus I can do, but it's not my thing. So I think it's better to actually bring somebody from Argus to come, and we'll try to do that. We'll see if it works. If not, cool, I'll do my best. But yes, we'll touch those two and maybe more softwares. Yeah.
Okay.
So I know you're kind of like, well, do you expect? Yes, I do expect you guys to change a lot of things. And I know maybe it sounds a little bit scary in the beginning, but basically that's what is required in order to be a graduate student. Take things that you learn and change them a little bit. That shows me that you understand. Okay? If you can only plug numbers into something that I gave you, or can only do the exact same exercise, but can't do one of these quite similar, then you haven't learned everything that I want you to learn. So forget about memorization. Focus on understanding. Focus on how you can tweak things to things that are similar. That's really is what is important. So again, replication is not what I'm looking for. Textbook. Ross, do you know Ling and Archer?
I do.
Okay. Because?
Figured this would be more than you said.
No, you know them for different reasons. I wouldn't just pick on you, Ross. You graduated from?
Florida, but I don't remember.
Dr. Ling is teaching at the University of Florida. And Archer, I think he's retired, but he used to be associated with him as well. Ling and Archer, that is our textbook. Principles of Value Approach. Now, the way I'm dealing with this textbook, this is actually an undergrad level textbook. I would say it's between undergrad and grad, but it's more an undergrad level textbook. The reason I'm using here in class is because, again, this is a principal class, and the way I'm teaching this class is not from textbook. So we're not going to start by, okay, so we're done with the syllabus, let's open in chapter 1 and talk about, that's not how it's done. I know you know how to read the book, right? Everybody here know how to read? So go read the book. Now, you're not paying a lot of money to come to this class for me to teach you what's in the book. You can buy a book for $100 and you can read it, and then you'll take quizzes to show me that you really read it and understood basically what's going on there. You can do it yourself. You don't need me for that. What you do need me for, I hope so, is extensions of the book. So either topics that are above and beyond the book, or things that haven't been in textbook yet. So the way it works in academia is that professors like me, people in academia, we do research. So we learn about how market works, about different relationships, about what factors affect what, in what way. We learn about the markets, and after enough of us learn and agree about, okay, this is how things work, then later on, they get into textbooks. It takes sometimes a decade or two until they really get into textbooks. I don't want you to wait 2 decades until you read about things you already know today. So I want to teach you about the things that are not in textbooks, and I'll let you read the books yourself. So it's almost 2 separate things. One, you read a textbook, it's your responsibility, it's easy text to read, it's good information, some that you know, some that you maybe do not know, but basically that's on the side. And then separately, we have the lecture. The textbook you're going to be used is going to be used in 2 different courses. It's going to be used in this course, and then in the real estate, the seminar course, which is $69.35. Again, in both cases, it will be done as a side note. Basically, the reason we did it is because I'm the one teaching those 2 courses, so it's my responsibility in the 2 courses that I teach that you basically read the book cover to cover and know something about those topics. So I'm kind of like, okay, I'm going to have you read it over those 2 courses, do some quizzes, and then I'll teach you things on the side, basically things that are above and beyond the text, or things that are just topics that are not covered there. I think it's a much more efficient way. In the undergrad, many times you do learn from the book, or in courses that are very traditional. So for example, Dr. Lin's class, okay? It's a corporate finance class. It's a very structured course. In my course, you'll hear me a lot of times talk about this and that, and go off topic, and it's not a very defined. It's not like this is how you teach principles of real estate. There's very many topics that you can touch and you don't touch, and basically in this case it's up to me. Corporate finance is a much more defined course. There's also order of how things need to be taught because they're built on each other. So Len's course, for the good or bad, he basically has to follow the book. Okay, in my course, I choose to deviate myself the book and teach you things that you can't get easily just by reading a textbook. Yes?
But for the chapter test, chapter 1 through 5?
I'll talk about it in a second.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the, teaching methodology. We talked about that.
Just to sum it up, you're saying essentially if you follow your PowerPoints and notes via lecture, we really don't need the book.
No, you do need the book. You do need the book because you'll take quizzes that ask you about the book. So I'm not saying that you will not do anything that has to do with the book in the class. All I'm saying is that you read the book separately, you do quizzes, and then my lectures are related to what you're going to be asked in the projects and the final exam. Okay, so they're almost separate. So you do need the book because you want to read the text to take the quizzes. It will be difficult for you, very difficult for you, I think, to answer the questions correctly without a textbook. So, yes. If you want to have an older version, might be okay, except please don't come to me that tell me that, well, in my book it's chapter 8 and on yours it's chapter 7. I don't know. I mean, the books are very similar, but sometimes they change. They flip chapter 8 and 9 because they just need to flip something to get a new edition. So when I'm asking you a quiz on chapter 9 in your book, because it's 2 editions back, it's chapter 8, I wouldn't be able to help you with that. So, but I think that the last edition, which is a lot cheaper, would work if you want to do that. Anything else? Anybody else had a question? Okay, so yeah, here just a note about instruction for creating technologies, for example. So for example, yes, I will deal with Excel. I will not teach you how to use Excel, even though I will give you tips here and there. Okay, so if you need to learn how to use Excel, if you think you don't have enough experiences, we have tutorials, you'll need to help yourself. Yes, I'll help you as much as I can, office hours, meeting, etc. But we don't teach you how to use those tools. Some of those you need to learn yourself. You learn from your group mates, teammates. I'm going to give you some tips to make your time easier. Because again, I know that even some of you do use Excel on a daily basis. Some of you just use it to make lists, or to add a few numbers, or to, do some very basic things. And here we do different things. So you'll get some guidance. But we're not teaching you Excel. There's no Excel course. Okay? But there are in every course you're going to be using Excel quite heavily, I think. Okay, communication with the instructor. So email is the best way to get a hold of me, and ask a question button in Blackboard. When you're watching the lecture, you have, and some of you are doing it right now, when you watch lecture, there's a button there, ask a question, and you can use that button to ask a question live. Now, if you watch the lecture at a later time, when it's not live, you can't use this button because it's not live. Then you can email me and ask questions. Okay? We talked about those office hours. Okay, so I'm hiding here my cell phone number. Cell phone number is for emergencies. Okay, so please do not call me just because you stuck on quiz 3, question number 2. This is not qualified as an emergency. Another thing that doesn't qualify as an emergency is a project you had 3 weeks to work on, and 2 days before you decide to start, and then it becomes an emergency. It's not an emergency. Emergency is, you know what emergency is. If you really need to get a hold of me right now, please call me. It's my cell phone. But for everything else, if it's not emergency, you can email me, and you can communicate that way. Sometimes when we do schedule an appointment, I'll tell you to call my cell phone because it's easier. That's fine. But please use it only if you really need to get a hold of me right now. I'm not really following that. I'm basically, like I said, I'm answering emails. I'm collecting for a little bit, probably for 24 hours, and then answering them at once. I'll say something about communication. In Blackboard, we have something here called a discussion board. Okay? And for discussion board, we have here a discussion board for project 1, project 2, meeting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 7. We're basically meeting all the way to 8. We're meeting 8 times, and we have 2 projects, which I'll describe in a second. Any questions you have about project 1, when you're working on project 1, or project 2, would go into those discussion sessions. You need to ask the questions there. Same thing about if you're working on homework, quizzes, or you have a question about this particular lecture as you are viewing it again, whatever it is, everything goes into the discussion board. Please do not email directly. But here's the reason. The idea here is that, again, a lot of you have the same questions from experience. You know, if there's something that's more difficult, it's usually not just you that's struggling, it's probably you and 5 more. So instead of me answering 5 more, it's better that you ask, and then when I answer you, everybody else see the answer, rather than just you. And then 5 minutes later, I get an email from him about the same topic. And also, the way it's going to work, it's that you ask a question, and then everybody else has the opportunity to respond. So the way I'm going to handle that is that every question will have to pass through those discussion boards. I will wait 24 hours, roughly, and if somebody responded, great, you're done. If somebody responded but didn't respond correctly, I will maybe adjust this. Of course, I'm not going to leave you with incorrect answers. But if nobody answers, then I will step in and answer. But I want to make sure that first go through this so everybody see all the questions, everybody see all the answers, and you will be rewarded for helping your friends. And believe me, when you teach things and when you explain things to other people, that's how you learn too. I mean, I know that I learned through teaching many times too. So it's okay to even post a part of your spreadsheet there or a specific question. So anything that maybe somebody else want to know too, even if it's related to your particular project, please put the discussion board. If you have something personal that is only between you and me, then email me directly. That, of course, will not go to the discussion board. But anything class-related, go through there. I'll wait a few hours to make sure that everybody else saw it and maybe responded, and then I'll step in if you haven't. So basically, it is your job to check Blackboard once a day. Okay, just log in, just like you do your email once a day, the end of the day, middle of the day, whatever makes sense to you. Log in and see if there's something there that you can help somebody or maybe can help you. Okay, disability notice. If you do have a disability you need to know about, let me know. Of course, it's done. That's something between me and you. Let me know. Now, I know I'm going to receive an email through the disability office. That's fine, but those things take longer, and they're very formal. Now, I have no problem with formality, but I think that things are usually being handled a lot better if you just come to me and say, hey, I have this problem. How to work on that? I'll accommodate you. But please tell me as soon as possible. Do not tell me one day before the exam is due or the project is due that I have a disability and need extension. It's not going to work. So you need to tell me as soon as possible. So if we have something that we need to do to accommodate you, we can do that in advance. Yes?
What's the second class that this book will be used for?
6935,
Okay.
which is Seminar in International Real Estate. Okay? Religious holidays. It's usually not a problem. If you do think that it causes any kind of conflict, of course let me know. But usually it's not a problem for the following reason. Yes, the class here is held every Wednesday for the next 8 weeks, and maybe it falls on some religious holiday. So if it does, one, you don't have to come to class. You can watch it the next day, so it doesn't conflict with the holiday. And you're never going to have something that you have to be in class for. So even you don't have you don't have exams that you take in class, you don't have quizzes you take in class, you don't have to be in class at any time. So if you happen to have a holiday that falls on class and you can't come, then it's okay. You can complete the assignment the next day or day later, or 2 days later, whatever. But if you think that you have a holiday that causes any conflict, let me know, and then we can try and solve. But usually it's not a problem because we have all these online and you can watch on demand. So it's not a problem, but let me know if you think it is. Academic policies, academic misconducts. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but basically be honest and do not cheat, and respect your professor. That's really all I can ask for. Unfortunately, we had in the last 3 courses I've been here, at least 1, and in some cases 2 or 3 students have been expelled because of cheating. I hate doing that, but it has to be done sometimes. Make sure that I'm going to tell you very clearly when you can and when you cannot share your work. And in most cases, you can share your work. For example, in this course right now, I'm telling you that you can share your work with everything except the final exam. You can do quizzes together. You can do projects together. You can, that's basically it, project and quizzes, and then exams. But you can really share everything. You can ask your professors about it. So you'll be very clearly notified of what you can and what you cannot share, where you can and where you cannot get help, and please follow that. In terms of respecting your professors and your classmates, sometimes we get here into professional arguments. That's fine. It's okay to have different opinions, but we need to discuss them in a way that is respectful. Okay? I try to do it myself. Please try to do it as well. Again, it's usually not an issue, but I just want to make sure that we understand each other. Okay. Pension exposure. Okay, grading policies. This is the grading policy we have here at FIU. If you're getting anything above 95, it is an A. 90, 95, that is including 94.7, is an A minus, and so on and so forth. Now, 94.7, for example, is automatic A minus. It may be an A. Okay, just like an 85.5, it's an automatic B, but it may be a B plus. So you may get a slightly higher grade. You never get a lower grade, but this is basically the rubric according to which we're assigning grades. So yes, it is possible to get slightly less than 95. Depends on how the class overall goes and get an A, but do not count on it. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it does not. Here's what get into your, and by the way, you have, we used to have C minuses and D pluses. It's really, it's like a D plus. mean that you not terrible, you a little bit better than terrible. I don't know. It's basically C and then D and F. I don't know what D pluses are or D minuses. Anyway, C, D, and F. I really hope nobody here will get less than a B minus in my class. Most people that do the work get A's and B's. If you got a C in my class, I really think that either you had something going on and you didn't share with me, so I couldn't help you with, personal, health issue, whatever it is. But if you did the work, there's no reason you should not get an A or B in my class. So just take my word for that. You do your work, you're serious, you put the time, you're going to get an A or B. It's usually the way it works. As you know, basically, a C, well, you need to have a B average at least in this program. So if you're getting a C plus or even a B minus or a C, you need to make it up. So a C needs to be offset with an A to make a B. Now, if your student get a C, those students, again from my experience, usually do not go to the next course and getting an A. Happens sometimes, but it usually doesn't happen. So usually they are getting offset with a few B pluses or A minuses. I'm not trying to scare you because I just said a minute ago that if you do the work, you should get an A or a B. But basically, C in this program is almost like a warning. You better do better in the next course. If not, you cannot stay in that because you cannot graduate from this program if you have less than a 3.0 GPA. It's not my rule or anybody. It's if you have a 297 at the end of these 10-year courses, you do not get a diploma. Okay, so make sure you don't. And again, the professors know the rule, you know the rule. The professors make it that it's very possible, and most people do achieve a 3.0, except those that don't do the work. Assignment weights. So we have participation. Participation is basically, which is 10% of your grade, is basically answering your friends' emails, or sorry, your friends' discussion messages. So again, go once a day, check it. I'm not saying you have to answer it to everybody's. First of all, if you answer it 3 times and nobody else answers, it's like, well, let somebody else try to, okay? Other people want to answer questions too. But make sure that you are participating in a way that if you have some questions, I want to make sure that you're jumping in sometimes and giving feedback. And if somebody answers and you have something to add, please do, to make sure that you are, we're helping each other. It is helpful. Sometimes, guys, sometimes to get an explanation from your colleague is actually better than getting explanation from your professor. I know, believe me, it's kind of making me sad a little bit, but it's true. I was telling my wife, we were talking about this and that the other time, about how, teaching for different years and different topics, because I taught all the way from chemistry and physics and Hebrew when I got to University of Kansas, and then I taught some probability statistics and mathematics and economics and finance, and then real estate. I taught different topics and different ages and for different reasons. And I remember when I was a graduate student and I knew just a little bit more than my students, if my students were here and I knew just a little bit more, it was much easier for me to relate to them and explain to them in a language that everybody understands. But the farther you go, because you accumulate more knowledge and the gap between you and your students sometimes get a little bit wider, that I know quite a lot more than some of you on certain topics, then sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to relate. It's kind of making me sad sometimes, but that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you explaining to her can be even better than me trying to explain, because I may look at the picture slightly different. I may have a wider or more, or maybe a slightly too wide of a view on some topics. So that is your 10% basically on participating in those class discussions. And after every project, you will be, on which you will be working in groups, you will be filling a very simple questionnaire, basically telling me if your friends participated fairly in the project. Okay? Now, if I'm getting from group of 5 that 4 of them say that 1 of them did not participate, that's a sign that that 1 person did not participate. I'm not talking about a cases where, the 4 of you work together and you didn't get well, so she said about you and you said about her, and all it means that you don't work together. Next project you should work in a different group. I'm talking about cases where you have clearly 3 or 4 people say that this 1 student did not do anything. Make sure it's not you. We all know that sometimes there's a free rider issue, that somebody is just joining a group trying to get the same grade but don't do the work. we don't want that to happen. And you're going to be basically, we're going to enforce in two ways. One is that you're not going to get the points here, which every 5 or 10 points make a big difference, because 10 points you already at a B. But the other way is that this is a small group. Remember, you're here to learn and to make connections. If you make yourself the reputation of somebody who's kind of, well, I'm not going to really do the work and wait for everybody else to do the work for me, you're probably not going to be first of all, they're not going to pick you for the next project. And the word go on pretty quickly. And I know again from experience that those students end up at course number 2 or 3. It's like, well, Dr. B, we don't have anybody to work with. It's like, something's like, I kind of know why you don't have anybody to work with, but let's see how I can help you. Sometimes you don't help yourself by not doing the work. It's not a big issue, but sometimes can be an issue. So make sure to be a team player. So this is your 10%. End of chapter test. I believe you have how many chapters we have? I have 15 chapters. 15 chapters, you get 16 points. That's what it came out to. 16 points. Here's the way it works. You go to your Blackboard, and under your course, you go, for example, to meeting number 1, and I believe it's the same under each one of the meetings, but I'm not sure. Under meeting 1, there is something here called assessment. And under assessment, well, there's a practice quiz. Basically, it's nothing about real estate, just to make sure that you know technically how to use those quizzes. It's not very difficult. But basically, those are multiple choice quizzes. You should have 15 of them. Now, you can't see all 15 right now. You'll be able to see all of them tomorrow. As of now, you can see all the way until quiz 5. And basically, the way it works is, here's how I recommend to do it. Those quizzes are relatively easy. I'm not saying super easy, but they're relatively easy. If you read the chapter and then take the test after that, you should score well. Okay, those are multiple choice quizzes. If you didn't score well, you take the quiz again. If you didn't score well, you can take the quiz again. You have 3 attempts. And while you take the quiz, it is okay to have open book. It is not cheating. And it is okay even to work with your friend if you really want to. Just make sure that, again, don't separate the fact that you really need to learn something, because this is really why we're here. But the idea of helping each other is fine. So you can have it open book. You can have it with a friend. There is no limit of time, but don't do the mistake of, let me start the quiz, and then just look for the answer in the text, because then your computer will freeze, and Blackboard will lock you out, and there is no time limit on those quizzes, but we know how it is. When you take too long, then all of a sudden your computers decide to restart. And then, I don't know how Blackboard look at that. So, read the textbook, take the quiz, you have 3 tries. The computer takes the highest try of those 3. So if you got a 70, an 80, and a 90, it's going to take 90. But if you got a 70, a 90, and an 80, it's still going to take the 90. Except, you should not care about taking the test again after you score at least 90. The way it works is, if you get a 90 or higher, I think each quiz is 20 questions. So to get to 90, you need to get at least 18 questions correct. If you got 90 on the first try, do not try to take it again. You can, but from grade purposes, it's not going to do anything for you. For me, when I'm assigning grade on the quizzes, 90, 95, or 100 is the same thing. I'm giving you 100%. Okay, so if you score 90, it's good. Move on. Don't spend your time or waste your time to try to score 95. There's no point. You basically demonstrate that you know what's going on. There's another reason for that. There's still a few errors in the textbook with the solution. So in some cases, you actually answer all of them correct, but it still gives you 95 because the book and the solution are not aligned exactly. So I don't want you to penalize for that. You're still going to get 100%. So score 9 or above, it's 100% for that quiz. So if you score 90 on all those 15 quizzes, you have 100% on this component, which is 16% of your grade. If you score less than 90%, so again, you did it 3 times, and the highest grade you got is 85, you're going to get 85% of that quiz grade. So approximately each quiz is 1% of your grade, because 15 quizzes are 16%. So approximately is 1% for each quiz. 85% will be 85% of a percent to that quiz. But those are the easiest points you can get. Believe me, those are the easiest points you can get. There is no reason, again, if somebody is taking this class seriously, there's no reason that you wouldn't score at least 90 on all those quizzes, get basically 100% on this component. I don't see why not. I know from experience people do that, people take it seriously, invest enough time in that, they get 100% on this component, and you should do that too. You have a question? No? Okay, so that is 16%. 2 projects. Those are group projects. I'll talk more about them later, but basically groups of 3 to 5 students usually, 17% each. Final exam, on which you work by yourself, 40%, together, 100%. The final exam, just to give you an idea, you will be given about 4 or 5 days. I have the dates here exactly, but I think it's like 5 days to work on it. You will be, all of you will be able to open the exam at the same time, at home or office, whatever it is. You open that only yourself. I always make sure to include at least weekend in the time at work. So those 5 days you have to work on, those 5 days will include a weekend, because I know some of you can only do work in the weekend because of your work schedule. Some of you it doesn't really matter, but to make sure everybody can work on that. You do not need 5 days to work on the exam, but you have it just in case, because you can work today morning and you can work at night, and you're busy in the next 3 days crazy, but you can only get that later. So you have the 5 days to work on that if you want to. You don't have to do it in one sitting. You can do a little bit now, and a little bit later, and a little bit more later. We'll talk about more details later as we go, but basically that's how the final exam works. Okay, in terms of when you need to submit things. So the first 5 quizzes you need to complete on or before September 4th. Again, every semester on September 5th or 6th, people log in. Dr. B, I can't see the quizzes. Well, no, you cannot see the quizzes because they're not there anymore. You will not be able to see them. They're done. You can't take them after September 4th. And September 4th is basically tomorrow. Okay, September 4th, what are we here? And it's a week and a half. Please start reading the book tomorrow. Okay, we're really talking about 5 chapters. I'm not trying to freak you out. All I'm saying is that please try to get those out of your way early. They're not difficult, but you need to read the book and take the end of chapter quizzes. You really have about a week and a half to do that. The first 5 quizzes, start on that please tomorrow. Okay, people always in every class, there's a few that forget about it. Don't be one of those. The next set of quizzes will be done. You need to complete them within 20 days after that, 21 days after that. And the last 4 quizzes in the beginning of October. One of the, I love the students that really want to, if you really want to do well and kind of be able to focus on the later part of the course, I would really recommend for you to get done with the quizzes ASAP. Just submit them and be done with that. And then you can focus the rest of the course. Here's the way it works. Your semester is going to get more busy as you get into it, not less busy. So right now, I'm not giving you any homework. Basically, the idea is that you have time to work on those quizzes for the first week or 2. So take advantage of the time that you don't have assignments, you don't have projects to get done with those quizzes. That's my advice. And then when you have the final exams and you have projects and you have projects in other classes and other things come up, you know how it is, then at least you don't have to worry about that. It will be my advice. I used to tell students, oh, you need to complete all the quizzes by some date, which is the final exam. And guess what? It was a terrible idea. You know, I tried to be like, oh, you don't just do it whenever, except that I learned that it's good to push a little bit because people tend to procrastinate. I'm guilty of that too. So if you give them earlier deadlines, it is better for everybody. But I encourage you to go even a step farther and try to finish them a lot before the date. That would be my advice. Yes?
You say that for the end of chapters 1 through 5, like chapter 1 would have 20 questions, 2 would have 24. Is it
I
One
think-
through five, it's 20 questions.
No, I think each one of them have 20 questions.
All right.
I think so. I think so. Maybe 10. But the question don't, I mean, those are multiple choice. It doesn't take very long to answer them. If you read a chapter, it shouldn't take very long to answer them. Project 1 and 2. In both cases, those are the due dates. In both cases, I will give you the project at least 2 weeks in advance. And usually not much more than 2 weeks in advance because you need to have the knowledge to solve the project. So there's no point of me giving you the project assignment today and it's 4 weeks away because you don't know how to do it yet. So I'm going to give it to you about 2 weeks in advance, not less than 2 weeks. And you have 2 weeks to work on that. Again, with the projects, 2 weeks. It goes like this. You need to make sure that when you get an assignment, you start working on that. Time management really is the key here. Make sure you don't procrastinate. The sooner you start, the sooner you can come up to the class with questions, the sooner you can come to me with questions. Because you know how it is. If you work on that in the last week and day 5, you have a question, well, maybe I'll be able to answer you the last minute, but you'll not be able to incorporate it into your solution. So starting early is better. Final exam, like I said, basically the final exam, if you look at the calendar, and I'll show you in the bottom, it's slightly after our last day of class when you actually submit it. Okay. And now it's a long syllabus. It used to be when I was teaching here not here, when I taught my first course in college, I taught Hebrew. My syllabus was half a page. And I basically said, everything else I'll just tell you later. As you get more into that, you realize that, okay, it's actually benefiting everybody to actually put things in writing because there's more understanding. So I don't know how many pages is that. How many pages we have here? I don't know, probably 10 or so. Anyway, end of chapters, participation. We already talked about projects. Oh, about group members. Another advice, please find your group member today. Okay? The reason is some people will find their group members today, and if you will not be one of those, then you'll be trying to scramble around and try to find somebody last minute. The idea is that when the project is assigned, you have 2 weeks, it's not a time to start looking for teammates because it may take you another week or so to find a teammate, and then, so please try to find your teammates today. I would advise, probably be a good time during dinner. If you're online, I would use the discussion board in order to introduce yourself. There's a place where you can introduce yourself in the discussion board yourself and try to find someone to work with. If you work with somebody, you do not have to work with the same people again. So you can work the 4 of you for this project, and if it works well, work on the next one. If it didn't work well, and you just have different personalities or your schedule collide or whatever it is, then you choose to work in a different group next time. It's okay. But you can. Yes?
How many group members per team?
Usually 3 to 5. Okay, so make sure you have 3 to 5 people in your group. Final exam. Yeah, so again, the final exam will be given to you on or before October 7, and you submit it on the 13th. So basically, you have 6 days to work on that. I'm very specific about how you submit it because, again, when you submit things and you say the file is final exam, and then I save it in the folder, and everybody has a file called final exam, it's an issue. So you need to be a little bit more sensitive when you name things the way I want them to be named, not because I'm picky, just because it really makes my life 100 times easier to actually have files that are named with the name of the students rather than each one is named some random name that I can't sort. Course assignments. Any real estate agents here? You know what it means? Times of the essence. What does it mean?
Means if I don't do what I have to do right now, drop what I'm doing, I can lose a deal.
Okay. Same thing with the assignments. Guys, submitting assignments on or before the due date is extremely important. Again, we're in a professional environment. You don't just submit it later whenever you feel like. Okay? Usually I'm specifying a very specific penalty. I used to be, if you don't submit it at that time, it's a 0. except then I couldn't stand behind my word. It's like, well, I can't just fail you because it's submitted an hour later. So then I would break and say, well, you know. So I pulled back from that and say, well, it's not a 0, but here's the penalty. So for example, they find something that's 10% penalty for every day, whatever it is. But make sure you submit things on time. You will be penalized. If not, again, if you do have a big issue of why you can't, let me know. I'll help you. That's an exception. But in most cases, things can be submitted on time. Grade dispute. If you get your quiz, there's no dispute about that because the computer graded for you, and there's either correct or not, it's multiple choice. But in anything else you receive, if you get a grade and you think that it was graded unfairly, or if you think that I overlooked something, so I took something because I said, oh, you didn't explain this, and you did explain the next paragraphs, I just didn't see it for whatever reason. So if you think that you got 80 and you should get 85, what you should not do is come to me and say, hey, I need to get 85. What you should do is basically you should write a one paragraph note and say, Dr. B, we got 80. However, we believe that we should get 85, and here is why. And then look at that, and in most cases, if you're right, you will be corrected. Okay? So you do have the right to dispute your grade if you think that you have an error. I would say, again, in different cultures, grade disputes are interpreted differently. When I was saying to students in North Carolina or in Wyoming, you can dispute your grade, like once every 100 students would complain about the grade, maybe, and it was usually kind of legitimate. And then you move to Miami and you realize that everybody wants to negotiate something. This is not a platform for negotiation. It's not about, I got 82, but maybe I can squeeze 84. Pick and choose your fights, okay? It's really important. You know, don't come, you know, if you think that it should be an 83 and you got an 82, I'm not saying don't submit, but think about whether it's really worth it or not. If I made a mistake, I'll be more than gladly to change your grade. This is usually what it's made for. If you really think it was unfair, let me know. But in some of those are to change your grade by 1 point on something that is a matter of opinion. I don't know. It's I'm just saying I got very different attitude here in Miami. Just again, different culture. We know that. I'm not telling you anything new. Idea, comments, suggestions. If you want me to change something, implement something, do something better, differently, etc., let me know. I'm still learning. Yes, I'm teaching for a long time, but the way we teach things change over time. I have a question here I'll answer in a second. The way we teach things over time, the technology changes over time, the material changes over time, and I can always do better. Now, some of the things that you will tell me to change, I will tell you, yes, I will consider that. And I may, if I think it's a good idea, I will change it the next semester because I can't change it next semester because the way you already set up the course. Some of the things I can change, like, oh, you should add a thread there, or you should change the discussion board in that way, or you should, whatever. Let me know, because if you don't tell me what's wrong, I can't fix it. Now, I know that you're filling your teacher evaluation at the end of the semester, that's good, except it's at the end of the semester. So I can't really respond to that while you're in the class. So it is good for me to hear what you want to be done differently. Or if you have any suggestions for doing things. Okay, so you said it correctly. So basically, otherwise out of the contract or possibly in default of the agreed terms. So in this case, you may be out of your grade. Okay? The idea is that it's very important to execute it in that particular time. That's what I mean by that. So Gail, I think we have an understanding there. Okay, this is a tentative schedule. I can already guarantee to you there's a reason why it's called tentative schedule, because it will change. You know, we try to plan for the future, and of course things don't go up don't go exactly the way we want them to go. But here's the thing that I usually do not change unless I really have to, right? If we have a hurricane and we have to cancel class, or if some major event happens and we have to cancel things and move things around, yes, it will change in a material way. If the semester goes the way it should go, then the topics may change a little bit. So some of them will maybe move one lecture forward or back, depends on how fast or slowly we go in the class. But what I will not change, because I try to make sure that everybody at least can plan as much as possible. I will not change, for example, those dates. I will not come to you next time and say, by the way, I said September 4th, it's going to be September 2nd. That will not happen. Okay? I'll also not tell you that it's going to be later unless we have a good reason for that to happen. So basically the due dates of things, I will try to keep them as much as possible the way they are. I will definitely not push them earlier. I may push them later if there's really a need. So if I took too long on a particular topic, if we took one more lecture to cover something and I believe you need some more time, then yes, I'll maybe move them into a slightly later date to make sure you have enough time to work with them. But I will never make them due earlier. But this is basically the way I'm trying to plan the semester. Like I said before, basically your last exam meeting, the last meeting we have is October 12th, and then your final exam is due October 13th, so the following day.
But for the final exam, it's going to be basically a Word document with, I'm assuming, like a few word problems or like questions. You have to type in the answer and then an Excel question.
Yes, I'll talk about it a lot more before the exam, but basically, yes, you receive questions. Some of them will be an open short answer, and some of them will be calculation Excel. I will give you one place where you fill in all your answers. It will be probably an Excel spreadsheet with different tabs. So let's say you have 15 questions, you're going to have 15 tabs. In each tab, or maybe I specify differently, but basically you're going to have a very specific place where you fill in the answer. Because again, as somebody who's grading a lot of those, I need some unity there. Can't have you do it on Excel and you do it on different program and everybody does the same way, answering the same places. Will be a lot easier for me to answer that. Yes. Document, probably a PDF or a Word that asks you the question, then you answer them on an Excel. Now, whether you're online, whether you're face-to-face, you must work in groups. And the reason that we persist that you work in groups is because, again, that's how it works in the real world in many cases, especially when you work on slightly bigger deals. As the world becomes more complex, there are very few tasks you can do yourself. So if you have a team of people that can work with you and share some of the load and also have different expertise, it is better. Also, the fact that we are communicating, I mean, you do a lot of business with people that sit with you in the same room, but you also do business with people that are across the country, across the state, or across the world, and we communicate. We have the tools to do that. We have Skype, we have emails, we have WhatsApp, we have whatever it is application you use in order to connect. It's a lot easier to do today. You do it all the time. We want you to do it here in this course as well. Okay, so working groups is part of what you need to do. And believe me, you will learn from your group members, and even if they don't sit next to you. I don't think there's anything super interesting here. That's it. 10 pages. That's it. Any questions? Oh, I didn't talk about attendance, but basically attendance is not mandatory. You don't have to come here. I do recommend that you do come because that is where you make friends. That's where you have the human connection. I think that taking the course online is a great option if you can't be here, but I do think, honestly, that you get a little bit more if you are face-to-face, except it's not in everybody's schedule or location or ability because of their schedule. But if you are able to be here in class, I think you will get a little bit extra by being here. I think that you should be attending our events, at least some of them. I think you should be attending the conferences that we sometimes give tickets and opportunity to attend for free or for very discounted prices. You should attend those. You'll get a lot more from the program if you put into it more. Students that just kind of try to do the minimum, yeah, you may graduate, but you're just not going to get the same.
Is there a calendar for those extra events, or is that something that you'll just keep us in the loop on?
You're not going to get them from me. You're going to get them from Eileen usually. Have you received any emails from Eileen so far?
Not like that.
No,
Cordell.
Cordell.
Aline Cardell?
Yeah.
You received anything from her, like,
No.
Lately.
okay, she'll be the one sending emails about events. It's going to be either her or Karen, depending on what event. So Aline is usually going to be in charge of, for example, we had just had ULI. And we send some students to ULI and basically, I think for free or almost for free to participate and to be introduced to different corporations and potential employers and things like that. Those announcements you're going to get through Aline. Some of the more social events of, hey, we're going to have wine and cheese at the place next door. That you're going to get from Karen usually. Okay, so you will receive them. Sometimes, I don't know, maybe they do have things in advance. I think they just send them as they come. And yeah, sometimes you will not be able to come, and that's why we have more than one. And by the way, you have opportunity even after you graduate. So it's not once you're done, you're done. Guys, this program really is, and I can tell from a relationship I have with just students from here, but also students from other universities I have, you're not done with me when you're done with my classes. Okay, you may be done submitting work and homework and projects, but I have relationship with a lot of my students in some capacity. Either it is that they ask for advice here and there, or whether they just want to get together for coffee and tell me about their deal and tell me about the new job, or they need a letter of recommendation, or whatever. I really like to have this relationship because this is what makes being a professor fun. We do research, we teach, and we give whatever it is we consider community service or community component. Research is very interesting and challenging, and I enjoy that, but that's basically me in front of the computer at home. Teaching, it's fun, but it's a small group of students that you build basically relationship. But then the relationship after that is what I really enjoy the most, so I really encourage you to stay in touch. If you're an online student, I strongly encourage you to try and come, if it's possible at all, at least once, twice, or more during the times of the program. Come here to Miami. If you live in Wisconsin, January is probably a good time to come here to Florida, okay? And enjoy some sun. Or maybe we'll do the opposite in August. But basically, try to come here if you can. Again, to meet the professors, I'll take you for lunch, I'll take you for coffee, get to know you. It is important, I think, to have some human interaction if it's possible. Also, of course, at the end we have a dinner and a graduation party, so usually we meet all of them face to face, but I'd like to meet you before you're graduating. So if you're online and you want to come to class, really all you need to do is email Karen and say, hey, I'm going to be in Miami in those dates, can I come to class? There's always a few extra open seats. You can come and sit in the classroom, and I would love that. So let me know. Seven o'clock. I think I'm going to just hire myself to do this. Let me just say one thing about just one thing about this this course, and then we'll go for a little break. This course I find it to be probably the most challenging course for me to teach, not in terms of material, but for me to teach for the following reason. Everybody here knows something about real estate, right? Some of you know a little bit, some of you know a lot about real estate. And some of you think you know a lot about real estate, right? I mean, just, that's how it works. Some of you, there's some things that we think we know, they're not necessarily true. Just we heard it somewhere, or we thought this is how it worked, but we didn't really understand why it doesn't. The idea here is that it's very different than, for example, a course in corporate finance. Okay? If you take corporate finance for the first time, you never saw the material, the professor come to the class, they teach you something, it's the way it is, you move forward. You do a few exercises, you move forward. And here's something new you never saw before, here's some exercises, you move forward. Here I'm teaching about things that a lot of you know something about, and in many cases a lot more challenging to change your view about something you already believe works this way, and then I'm telling you, it works this way. So what I'm trying to say is that, first of all, don't take my word for it. Oh, Dr. B said this way, so it must be. That's not what I'm trying to say. All I'm saying is that please keep an open mind, because yes, some of the things I will tell you are not the way you believe they are. So try to have an open mind, try to listen to the reasoning, ask a question, you can